back for segment 4 of the TD show. We had some technical difficulties there during the break. Had a little server overload, I guess. Had to wait a few minutes before we came back here on Spreaker and our YouTube channel. If anything ever happens like that, and you're by a computer, you can just go to the tdshow.com, and we have the live feed where you can watch it. And that should always be up, unless we get technical difficulties with it too.
Which we had last week. Well, not during the show, but after the show was over.
Right.
Actually, our server went down. We had too much traffic. We must be doing something right. If our server went down on Spreaker today for too much traffic, our server went down last week on our website for too much traffic. So we appreciate the support you're giving us. Glad we can be here on Saturday morning to talk to you.
Right. Last segment we had Bruce and Hammer call in. 2 really good calls. Got to talk a little outdoor. Hammer with a really good question there regarding the March Madness NCAA tournament.
And Bruce, who has a house for sale on Scott Drive if you're in the market.
That's right. So we did love some more phone calls this morning. 502
509-3190.
There you go. Give us a call, or at least give us a little love on Facebook, Twitter, the comment box below the live feed on tdshow.com. Let us know you're listening.
We're looking for a female perspective on some things.
We are looking for the first female caller in TD show history. If you would like that badge of honor, we encourage you to call in this morning.
Well, we don't have a T-shirt or anything to send you, but we'll give you our sincere
We might
thanks.
make one. I tell you what, if there's a female caller that calls in today, and they also come to the small business fair, which I will get to, we will give them a T-shirt that says First Female Caller TD Show.
Deal.
But talking about the small business fair, I hadn't brought that up yet. We need to. On March the 15th, that's 2 Saturdays from today, there will be a small business fair at Leftwich Hall at Bowling Park, where we're going to be set up. We're going to be broadcasting live from there, so you can come out and visit us. If you've never met us, you can meet us. Come there, have a little meet and greet.
I can't imagine anyone wants our autograph, but we'll sign it for you.
We will happily do autographs that day if you make it out to Leftwich Hall.
Get on the radio with us. We'll ask us any questions you want to. We'll talk about anything. It doesn't have to be sports. We're there to promote some small businesses, some local entrepreneurs trying to do things around our community. So come out and see us. I can't guarantee you that there's going to be a whole lot of manly activities, but we will be there.
When we joined this event, it was called the Small Business Fair. Or Expo, whatever. Now it is the Small Business Shopping Extravaganza. However, we will not be selling anything. There will be no shopping going on in our setup.
As far as I know, I think it's free to get in.
It is free to get in. There'll be some door prizes. There's going to be some money donated to charity, which is part of the reason we set up with it. It's a good cause. It's money going to a local family here with a kid fighting cancer right now. So we decided to get set up at that, help out with that. Once again, but we're looking for our first female caller today, 502-509-3190.
So if you'll give us a call today, and if you come and show up, there'll be plenty of things for a female to enjoy at this.
Absolutely. You might as well be there fair. Anyways.
We'll give you a T-shirt. We'll let you come on there and talk to us again, and we'll give you something for your time. That being said, still plenty of sports to get to this morning. We've been shortened by about 10 minutes, and so we're going to have to
this segment
rush a little bit, and we'll get it going.
We'll keep this segment the same and then come back at 11 o'clock. But what we want to get to right now is the Daytona 500 recap. Junior wins, just like I and you kind of predicted. He got the pole there or the first spot there on that last restart and basically just drove away from everybody. It started early in the day. There was a 6.5-hour rain delay, I believe it was, the largest in 500 history. I believe we said it was about 70 laps when it hit.
70-something.
So when it red flagged, NASCAR had the option of either postponing it until Monday night or trying to hold it out and finishing it that night. And to the benefit of all the NASCAR fans, NASCAR did the right thing and let it go that night as well as they could for all those people that had traveled so far there to see it, had to be at work the next day. And it was an awesome race.
I think it turned out a lot better. I mean, Daytona under the lights, Daytona 500 at night. with all the recap and the build-up during that 6-hour delay,
Yeah.
especially for us at home watching it on TV, they were showed last year's race. I know there was a few funny tweets
Yeah.
where Jimmy Johnson was reported by
Fox News
as
congratulated
winning
him.
the race. Yeah.
And then, there was a lot of fun with that when they were interviewing Junior and Boyer in between the restart. And, he's like, well, Jimmy won the first Daytona today. Hopefully I can win the second one.
And I mean, you got to see a little more behind the scenes than you normally would.
Yeah.
Michael Waltrip was driving in the race, but also doing some reporting for Fox. Would run up there and get in the booth. He got crashed out at the end, but was honestly running a decent race until he crashed out.
Him and Labonte both.
Right.
Labonte's last race, I believe.
Yeah, Bobby Labonte's last race.
Something that was
Or maybe it's his last 500. I think he's going to finish the rest of this year. That was going to be his last 500.
Maybe. One of the amazing things was that there was about 1 second difference from the first car to the 25th car for the majority of the race. Yeah. There together.
At least for the last 100 or so laps, they were all bunched up in a pack, running 3 wide all the time. I mean, you knew that if one car got sideways, it was over for about 15 cars.
But it was a really clean race until about 50 laps to go. And then we saw
people trying to make moves, cars getting loose, and just not enough room.
Right. We saw about 6 wrecks. And, Kurt Busch, he was pretty upset there. He got that wreck, and no caution came out for him.
Right, yeah.
He wasn't real happy about that.
He just happened to end up in pit lane. He got lucky. Unlucky for him, lucky for everybody else that he spun out and was headed the right direction.
He came up and hit the wall and then got in the grass, and amazingly, nobody ever hit him.
No.
Everybody got around him. But we talked about Dylan a lot last week, coming up, driving the number 3 car. He finishes 9th, and he escaped a lot of wrecks. Him and Harvick both got blamed for wrecks during there, but we both pretty much agree that it was more the cars than them.
Well, it wasn't so much them. Dylan's wreck, someone came up into him a little bit, rode up the track, not by their own their own fault. The car kind of floated them up the banking there and into Dylan's front end and pushed him and to cause a wreck. And that Harvick's kind of just got loose underneath him, and he rode up the track as well. Again, when you're going 200 miles an hour and you've got literally less than a foot between you and another car, those things happen. I didn't see any kind of dirty wreck. The only time I saw anybody bump drafting or anything like that was when Junior was trying to get that piece of tape off the front of his car, got behind the pace car.
Right.
But they said, actually, that tape may have sped him up a little bit.
That's right.
It decreased his drag, which pretty cool, especially with only 10 laps ago. Didn't have to worry about overheating. I'd never actually seen that happen before, and I'd never seen him trying to rub it off on the pace car. I didn't know you could hit the pace car.
Something else pretty interesting, so many lead changes throughout that race. I mean, I think it was 17 to 19 lead changes throughout the race, and that's official, with people taking the lead for a lap.
Yeah, and you crossing the finish line with crossing the start-finish line with the lead. But that being said, there's a lot of big names at the front all night long.
Yeah, and a lot of them finished there.
At the front too. That front pack was there in some way, shape, or form pretty much all night.
The top 6
Johnson
finishers
came from the back, and Gordon came from the back at one point, but the rest of them were kind of up front most of the night.
Yeah, Johnson had to start back with a new engine, I believe. Yep. Top 6 finish: Junior, Hamlin, Brad, Jeff, Jimmy, Kenseth. I mean, that's a pretty big billboard top 6 there.
Yep, about as good as it gets, especially for RCR.
And I mean, there was a Carl Edwards was right there in it before his wreck, which was on the last turn there. I believe that he wrecked.
He wrecked, and now of course they didn't bring out caution because everybody crossed the finish line, but it was right at the 4th turn there coming home. And, spun out, got sideways, got drilled.
Something interesting we talked about before we came back. Some of the
Danica's wreck, I think, was probably the hardest of the night. I mean, she hit hard. And if you watch the in-car camera, she didn't move. I mean, that strap had her down, but she hit that pretty much full speed, hit the wall.
That brings up, I watched the replay. They actually re-showed the 500 last night on Fox Sports 1, and I watched the last 50 laps of it again, and which brought up a topic that I wanted to get to today in what drivers say when they have a wreck. It's always the same thing. If you've ever listened, the TD show car was running really well today. I think had we not had that wreck, we've been right there for it. I think we could have won, had a good car.
What else do you say?
But I mean, that's the easiest out. I mean, obviously you don't want to wreck, but if you wreck, no matter if you were first or if you were 43rd a lap back, you felt like you were probably going to win the race.
That being said, that's what Michael Waltrip said, but we heard him, and he was at the back of the pack, but we heard him say 70 laps in that he wanted to sit at the back of the pack until there were about 70 laps to go, and then he was going to try and make a move. He's going to hope people cleared out in front of him. So I think he was actually sticking to his plan when he got wrecked out. But
it has to be weird to be a driver, though, like him, and then be an analyst, too, and predict Brad to win the race.
Yeah.
Seems like you'd want to predict yourself to win the race.
But he's not a full-time driver.
Right. He races Daytona, Talladega, and maybe one more throughout the year.
Yeah. And if they need him, for whatever reason he needs to drive.
And
Kentucky boy, I mean, I'd love to root for him if he'd race full-time.
Oh, yeah.
Talks like a woman, but that's okay.
And he had actually won a rain-shortened 500 before.
He has.
But all that said, we were talking about the 6.5-hour rain delay. Some crew chiefs didn't even tell their drivers that there was a rain probably about less than 15 minutes away. Less 10 minutes away. But you wouldn't have known it by watching the way they were racing. I mean, some crew members did tell their drivers, that we don't know that this thing's going to end.
Right.
We might get the red flag and be done wherever you're at. And that said, you would have thought everybody knew that because the last 50 laps, everybody was racing like it was the last lap of the night. Everybody wanted that lead.
Daytona. That's how Daytona is.
You're right.
I mean, if you get stuck in the back at Daytona, you're out of luck. And I didn't see the new draft rules come into effect really at all. Did you see any trouble with that?
No, but if you watch the Nationwide, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Kyle Busch. I believe it was Kyle Busch who races Nationwide and Sprint. I believe he got penalized. He had to drop a lap for the bump drafting.
It just seems like at a place like Daytona that's a rule that you almost can't enforce it. There's times when you don't really have an option.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing you can do about it.
I mean, those cars all night
or bump
right there.
Yeah.
It was probably top 3 races I've ever seen.
And honestly, not just because he won and not just because everybody loves him, but Junior's performance in that race, on the restarts, the 3 restarts at the end, about on as good as they could possibly be.
Yeah.
Got out in front, dropped low when he needed to.
And that's one of the things. He battled both of those waves better than I've ever seen anybody do it at the end of a race.
And he decided, look, sorry, Jimmy, you're not passing me.
The last 15 laps of the race, he was up, down, up, down.
And he would cut off both at once. He would put it directly where no one could pass him low and no one could pass him high.
Right, which kills that draft also.
Right.
It's not just letting the people not pass you, but it kills that draft too.
Yeah, it's disrupting both drafts because they're getting they're getting offshoots of your car on both sides, and it's changing their airflow around you and speeding you up and slowing them down.
I've actually got quite a bit of things about Junior I'd like to talk about when we come back from the break, and also something that started yesterday, the new qualifying for NASCAR. They used the old qualifying for the 500.
I love the old qualifying.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah. Starting this week, we have new qualifying, so we'll just touch on it real quick. I've got 4 or 5 things I'd like to talk about.
I like the challenge races. Do you like the challenge races? I think it's a lot of opportunity for things to go wrong, but it makes it exciting.
Yeah, I agree.
Do they only do that at Daytona?
Yes.
I like it. Yeah. Budweiser Challenge. Is it Showdown? What's it called?
Shootout.
Shootout. Budweiser Shootout. Yeah. That's what it is.
So we're going to go to the break here. We'll come back. Be sure to refresh your browser or the Spreaker feed on our website. We'll be back in about 4 minutes. We'll talk more Junior. Still have a lot of MLB, NBA, NFL to get to. We'll be back.